everybody. Welcome. I'm Pastor Stephen,
Pastor Michael Jannett.
and we're doing a video about baptismal stories. I serve at Peace Lutheran Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I just love baptism, this incredible gift from God, embracing us, naming us, claiming us as God's own. And I want to share that with other folks. So, Pastor Michael, I'm so glad you're here today to share your baptismal story with me and with the folks in our congregation. Just before you start, I was baptized January 27th, 1985 at Messiah Lutheran Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think I was, five weeks old, something like that. But I've got this great picture that I'll share in another video, with my grandparents and great-grandparents and other folks there. But I'm so thankful for people who share their stories and those who have shared with me, because it helps my faith come alive. So, Pastor Michael, who are you? Where do you serve? And what's your story?
So I am Pastor Michael Jannett, and I am the assistant to the bishop for formation and communication here in the Southeastern Synod. So I get to work with our youth, our young adults, our campus ministries, formation as a whole, and then also a lot of our Synod communications, most of it. If I'm not doing it directly, I'm helping to oversee it. Social media, website, emails, all that kind of stuff, newsletters. So that's kind of part of what I do. I'm also a father and a husband, father of three and a husband. So that's the basics of who I am. And in terms of my baptismal story, I was born into the Lutheran tradition. So my two brothers and I were both baptized as infants. I was baptized at about the age of 1 month, and that's August 1978 at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. So I'm able to go back to that and see my certificate and see those promises that were made by God and by the people of that congregation at that time, and obviously my family as well. So that's part of the background of my baptismal story. And as a pastor, having served since 2007, had the honor of serving the church as a whole and presiding over baptism. I'll say the most unique one for me was when I took a father and son. We went to their home and down to the Nolichucky River in East Tennessee, and they wanted to be baptized in the way of their ancestors, their previous, the father and grandfathers. And so we went into the river and we did a baptism in the river, and they went down under, and it was quite the experience. It's just from that experience to kind of your maybe more traditional, in the sanctuary with a little bit of water over the head. That is, those are meaningful moments, because I know that, as you said, the Spirit is present, helps them to understand and establish their callings in this life, and very important for us to be able to lean on those promises. For when things fail, we get to look and say, I am baptized.
Yeah, right on. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That must have been an incredible experience getting to baptize them in the river. Was it a cold day or a rather warm day?
Let's say it was raining for the previous couple of days, so might not have been the wisest choice. I told our council president to stand about 20 yards downriver in case I dropped anybody or somebody slipped. I don't know if he would have been able to do anything, but there we were. But it was meaningful.
So definitely a lot of living, rushing water, huh?
A lot of rushing water. That's right. Yep. Yep.
Well, and that's just a beautiful thing, reminding of, the Spirit's movement, and that this baptism thing isn't just a nice, calm, gentle thing, but, there is power in what God is doing in the sacrament. And I think that comes out beautifully in the story with the two people that you baptized. And I think one of the things I love about hearing other baptismal stories is that informs my baptismal story of, this is what God was doing in my baptism, even though I don't know all about it, about exactly what happened, or I know where it was and when it was and who was there. But hearing those other things, I imagine that also informs your baptism too. So that's when you were baptized and people you've baptized. But what does your baptism mean to you today? How does it influence your life?
Yeah, sure. It has again, as I said, it reminds me when I say I am baptized, it reminds me that no matter my shortcomings, or when I'm a little too haughty, I'm a little too proud, I remember it's not about me. Numbers chapter 11, when Moses is upset with God because he's got to do all this work, he's got to do all this stuff. It's not necessarily a baptismal story, but it's a reminder that at that moment when they're in the Exodus and Moses complaining, he kind of says it's all about me, and God's like, it's not about you, and I'm going to take the spirit that's you, and God's gracious response is, I'm going to share that burden that you feel you have and share it with the others. I think it's a great reminder that we're not in this alone, and in baptism, we're tied together and we're connected to each follow our own individual callings, all towards maybe a collective calling of being God's people in the world. um, so I mean, that's another way to look at it. It's something that ties you to others. It moves you beyond yourself and ties you into this great mission, as we say, God's mission in the world. We're a part of that. And I think hearing all these different baptismal stories, like you said, helps you to kind of gain a more of appreciation of your own baptism. A case in point, when I was leading a confirmation class, a young person, as we gathered around baptismal font, and I told them the story of, or I said, sometimes people are baptized in a different mode. Sometimes they go all the way under, in the water completely, and it's just a different methodology. And they looked at our small little bowl of a baptismal font and said, "How did somebody fit in that?" I just said, "Well, you know," and I had to explain.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't in this font, but
exactly. And so anytime we get to learn and hear others' stories, it helps us to kind of just step away and kind of get a deeper, maybe a more broad understanding of the gift of baptism. So it's definitely empowering to us to know that we're part of God's mission in this world.
yeah, right on, right on. Well, that sounds like that's a lot of what your baptism means to you, and I think you also had some good preaching in there, some teaching. This is what you want to share. Is there anything else you want to share? Is like, here's y'all. If you don't hear anything else, here's the takeaway for you of what I want to teach about baptism.
I guess that if anything else, or if nothing else, just know that that God gives you the community around you to support you in your baptism. That it's not just you alone. Those baptismal promises are made maybe by parents or grandparents or friends or loved ones, but also the congregation. Anytime I've led a baptism, sorry, this isn't just the one point, but you got me thinking. As I always remind folks when I'm presiding over a baptism, that they have promises too that they make. And I think I accidentally, my wife and I kind of accidentally stumbled upon something powerful in when our oldest son was baptized. We chose to do this afternoon baptism. It wasn't on a Sunday morning, which is kind of our typical experience, to say this faith community is important. Well, at that time in our lives, we were connected to different churches, the synod. We were connected to different church groups, church events. And so we did a baptism at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. We crafted a little liturgy around it. And that was really powerful in retrospect. I think I kind of stepped outside the bounds maybe of the normal tradition, but I think that happy accident was God's way of saying, these are the people that your child will be around, because you're gonna lug them around with you as you go to retreats and different churches in the synod. These are the people that are going to make those promises with you. So I think it's important to know that the community is around you. Kind of coming back to the one last takeaway is the community is there to help you, either to encourage you or to hold you accountable to those baptismal promises. But all in all, God's grace is there and covers us, and the waters are a good representation of that.
Right on. Well said. Amen. Keep going, preacher. Keep going. Well, Pastor Michael, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your baptismal story and what it means to you and impact in life and teaching. I really appreciate it. So folks, if you have not been baptized, I would encourage you to reach out to your pastor or to me, and we'd love to talk to you about baptism, this incredible gift from God that draws you into this big community of God. So let me know. And if you have been baptized already, I encourage you to embrace your story of what God has done in your life. So yeah, please enjoy and remember that. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.